And then on the other side, you have tools like this that are providing more granular level visibility into what you're actually spending and levels of performance. But the messy middle is where, how do you actually compose these things to be able to say, okay, these are the component parts that I need in order to be able to deliver this capability to the organization, and how much should I spend for it?
Growing a business requires a holistic approach that extends beyond sales and marketing. This approach needs alignment among people, processes, and technologies. So if you're a business owner, operations, or finance leader looking to learn growth strategies from your peers and competitors, you're tuned into the right podcast. Welcome to the WBS Podcast, where scalable growth using business systems is our #1 priority. Now, here is your host, Sam Gupta.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's show. This is Analyst Gone Wild, and the official name is Analyst Gone Grumpy. So you will find a lot of grumpiness here, which we all enjoy a lot. This is what we do for a living, I guess. We are analysts. We meet every Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern. So this is probably what, 18, 19, 20, I don't know which episode number is. Robert does a very good job of keeping track of the episode number, and he's going to be a little late today, so that's why I'm hosting. So we'll start with everybody's intros. I don't know, Thomas, do you want to go first?
Sure. Thomas Liebernight. I'm at CRM, covering CX, CRM-ish topics, as the name suggests, and I'm doing that for ever. Probably, yeah. And I'd say cranky, not grumpy.
Cranky. You are always rebranding, redefining things. Thank you so much, Thomas. Hyun, do you want to go next?
Sure. I'm Hyun Park, founder of Amalgam Insights. I've been an industry analyst for 17 years across analytics, data management, and IT management topics.
Okay, amazing. Thank you so much for being here, Hyun. And Ken, do you want to go next?
Sure. Ken Gonzalez here, otherwise known as KenGon. With Pretty Simple Group, I provide coverage on CIO topics as well as infrastructure and operations.
Okay, amazing. Thank you so much for being here. So I'm actually going to bring the first story here. So here, this is slightly different story, I guess, coming from Nintex. And obviously, as usual, 90% of the stories are going to be around AI. So this is no exception that this is AI as well. So in this case, they are talking about AI-powered process automation. And when I look at this, I'm getting a sense of Pyfly is the company that we were looking at process automation. We have covered, some more. I don't know how many sessions you guys were part of, but there are a lot of different companies that are playing in the process automation space. And here they are, I am not seeing anything new. The only thing is, okay, we have the processes, we have process managers, and I don't know if they are making alliance with a lot of consulting companies. They are working on something like this as well. They are saying AI forms assistant with Nintex forms. As such, from my perspective, I get a feeling of BPM, to be completely honest, based on this description. So I'm going to open up the floor now. What do you guys think of this?
BPM is probably where their roots are. I don't really know this company. To me, the third bullet is the interesting one, to quickly create purpose-built solutions. So this goes into a discussion that is going on in at least the CRM arena for, not too long, for some time now, that goes into the direction that prepackaged applications may see their sunset. Because why? The reason is that they are getting customized the heck out of it anyways. So, and that changes the equation between make and buy, especially if it becomes so easy to build new applications. So they seem to ride that wave to some extent, although they are probably a bit closer to the Microsoft and Salesforce ecosystem.
Yes. Also, right now, we are being flooded by automation announcements. And right now, it feels like everybody is saying the same thing. And I think that as we are looking through these announcements, there are several aspects that I feel like are important to take a look at. The first is whether your AI is simply producing some sort of output like a report or a chart or some sort of standard generative AI output, or whether it is supporting some sort of automated process where you're going through a series of steps to get something done. A second is whether this is something that is a human-based, a human in the loop, or whether it also supports automated capabilities or some sort of orchestration for multi-agent capabilities. And then a third aspect is the extent to which the AI works, whether it simply works within the platform or whether it is a more extensible and multi-platform capability. And when I look at this seems to me to be specific to the Nintex platform, and it seems to be a generative AI kind of announcement, which is probably helpful to add to their process automation capabilities, but not necessarily speaking to the hype, that agentic hype that has been coming up the last month or so, where we're already moving to this next generation of AI that is supposed to be handling multi-step processes in a logical way while keeping attention and not losing focus on what it's supposed to be doing.
So from my perspective, I think that the whole idea of being able to do task level automation is now really not a differentiator. Everybody and their dog can do it. And I think it puts customers in a very rough position. And what I mean by that is they now have to actually go through and look at each of the individual vendor candidates that they're going to consider and determine whether or not that's actually a fit for the way that they're going to work. In a lot of ways, this reminds me of the AI ops quandary, where people would come in with tools that have a certain level of capability, a certain data set, but it still was on the shoulder of the adopting firm to figure out, hey, does this work for me in the way that I need it to, so that I can actually say that I'm getting value and show that I'm getting value from adoption of the tool set. I think that with the way that the markets are moving, it makes it even more difficult the more that we focus on this. And higher level automation capabilities where there's lots of pre-built connectors, there's logic that helps stitch everything together so it's not as much of a manual process as it has been in the past. These are all capabilities that people need to be looking at, and I don't think that this really speaks to it.
Yeah, so some very interesting comments, and I'm going to have just one comment based on your comments, I guess. And Thomas, I mean, you made a very interesting comment related to the whole no-code, low-code world and make versus buy argument. I don't know how true that is, to be completely honest. For the ad hoc applications, there might be a case that the existing applications might be replaced with no-code, low-code platform. But even the no-code, low-code platform, the real origin of them when they started as low-code, no-code, now they are trying to position themselves as CRM platform. ServiceNow is probably a classic example because, what customers are looking for, they are looking for very easy, not easy should not be a word, I guess. Fast adoption, fast time to market, right? And it's very hard to develop anything, even if it is going to be low code, no code, that does require substantial learning. Even for business folks and for developers. I mean, you are going to have a lot of proprietary boilerplate, which is sometimes harder than the actual programming languages, in my personal experience. So I don't know if no code, low code is going to be the future as such. There is a possibility that because of AI capabilities that might change, because if it is going to be all prompt, then it might be easier. But in my personal experience, getting the first version is easy. Maintenance is generally harder with these applications because they have a lot of boilerplate, and that is generally harder to maintain compared to how you can maintain a text-based programming version. So I don't know. Those are my thoughts.
Yeah, there are certainly some companies that bet the house on it. You mentioned one, Pega is another one, Croatia a third one.
Yeah.
So they seem to be quite successful for, at least for some areas. It may work. Let's put it like that. But I agree, the final word is not spoken. After all, companies like Oracle, Microsoft, SAP invest a heck of a lot of Salesforce invest a heck of a lot of money into prepackaged applications. So that'll be a struggle, and there will be quite surely different use cases where it works and where not.
Yeah, just to be clear, they both have a place. So I'm not arguing that. I mean, they don't have a place; they have a place as well. In the market, they both have a place. They are not necessarily replaceable. More comments, guys? No, I can go to the next story if no. Okay, so here, this is Circana, I guess, right? Circana, Liquid Supply Chain Solutions. This is very interesting. So they are talking about liquid data platform, empowering suppliers with real-time insights to optimize supply chain planning and execution. And I don't know what is new here. I guess, I mean, there are like many different platforms that does very similar things. Here they are saying providing prescriptive recommendation for inventory allocation. Again, very SNOP, kind of messaging. I'm not too familiar with them. I don't know how big they are. I don't know if you guys know them. They are saying the new offering leverages automated ingestion, harmonization, and export capabilities across the suppliers' portfolio of retailers to provide insights down to the store, item, and day level in a fraction of the time. And again, this is very SNOP. I don't see anything new here. So they are saying cross-retailer insights. So is it more of the retailer-to-retailer integration game? I don't know. You guys tell me your comments.
Well, let me start. I'll say that from a supply chain perspective, I think with the issues that we're experiencing with global logistics, anybody that's really going to focus on supply chain is going to have a devil of a time. I think that this is interesting in terms of like a forward-looking perspective, but can it actually help me now dealing with the fact that some items may not make it to port, some items may not make it on the actual either the train or the truck to actually make it to the place where the equipment's needed? How do you deal with the impacts of delays and things that actually just don't ship? Those are the things I think that the supply chain leader of today is going to be really focused on trying to get answers to. And just the soft thing about ingestion harmonization, is that really going to help me? I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, more comments, guys.
Kind of the Circana, interesting company. It's a merger. It's one of these wrap-up consolidation companies of former companies that have also been in the supply chain space, as the private equity world is trying to wrap up all of these capabilities into one super group. We've seen this game before across the years in many a market. But as Ken Gon said, this is definitely a timely announcement, as nobody knows quite what's going on at the store level, and how can you with the rules changing from week to week, especially in the United States.
Yeah, great comments, guys. And if you're in the audience and if you have any sort of comments, stories that you might be able to share, we love to see those, and we would love to discuss those as well. Guys, more comments on the story? Great comments, by the way. If not, I can move to the next one. Okay, so here, this is CloudBolt, and they are talking about continuous optimization. They have extended to Kubernetes, right? And this is the acquisition of StormForge. and you guys are probably going to have a lot of insights here. They are talking about, and they have the pioneer in machine learning powered resource optimization is that they have. I think for the infrastructure, I don't know how many players are there in this market. I don't track them actively on a daily basis, this particular market. So again, you guys are probably going to have more to say here. FinOps. So yeah, this is probably going to be your area. You may have done a lot here, right?
Sure. I've definitely got a lot of thoughts here, but I would say that at the big picture level, first of all, Kubernetes is a way to be able to abstract your IT resources, as Ken knows super well. And it's useful, and this is important because you're never quite sure how much computing resources you're going to need for a specific application when it is emerging, especially if you're a hyper-growth company. So you're going to try to move it onto something like Kubernetes often to be able to scale and to be able to not be locked into any particular infrastructure environment. And so it's helpful there. But the problem is obviously the cost can skyrocket really quickly if you're not careful. So combining that with CloudBolt, which is a more holistic solution for looking at visibility to cloud cost, seems like a natural addition. The interesting thing here is both of these companies were actually funded by the same venture capital firm. So in some ways, this is a view of this venture capital company. I believe it was Insight. It was looking at, went down two separate paths to figure out how to manage IT costs and started finding that these two started coming together to some extent. And it was useful to have that detailed look of infrastructure flexibility to go along with the bigger picture of just what the cloud cost was at a big picture level for Amazon, Azure, the Google, the normal players, the usual suspects.
Yeah, more comments, Thomas or Ken? Do you guys have anything to add? No?
No, I do. Just summarized it.
I think any opportunity to actually have some focus on IT finance or FinOps is actually a really great thing. Because for the most part, from an end user organization perspective, they've done a fairly horrible job of really managing the financial elements of things. I think that the challenge has been because of the way that they typically budget, which is CapEx, OpEx, and special projects. It doesn't give them down to the looking at a particular service, application, or product that they bring to market. And when I say market, that could either be for the direct benefit of their customer or their internal IT resources or whoever's going to actually provide services to the people that they actually end up serving. You end up having to really work at very high level buckets of cost. And it doesn't help really determine where your money's going and whether you're actually delivering the right level of value for what the spend is, for what you're consuming. So anything that actually helps get their hands around this, for me, this is a good thing. I like seeing things like that. And the key problem with it has been, it's been very difficult to stand up platforms that help you gain visibility. Because I think that we've got a bit of a disconnect between the financial model being used and the lower level capabilities, how those roll up and get packaged so that you can account for it on a product or capability level. So that's, if we're even moving one step in that direction, I'm very happy to see it.
Yeah. Now I need to pitch into, so it's basically combining the insight with the action, right? So the acquired company enables them to step up or down the containers based upon the impact that, or well, the required capacities that are needed. So this is probably what kind of gone, what you wanted to get into, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so very interesting. So I have, I don't know, Thomas, you still had something? Go.
No.
Okay, so I have two, maybe questions, for either Hyun or Ken. So number one, I don't know if you know any other companies that are doing similar things as StormForge that can provide similar, analytics. That is number one, and number two is, in my mind, when I look at this, and for companies, especially tech companies, this must be difficult, right? Because they have to do the financial translation as well. 90% of the tech companies or the SaaS companies, their pricing model is either user-based, consumption-based, and they are paying per messages per transaction. So I don't know how easy that translation is. I have not personally done that, so I don't know how difficult it gets. But it must be a headache, I guess. So I don't know if that is something they are going to get some value from it, or is that so, Jan?
Yeah. So at Amalgam Insights, we talk about the IT rule of 30, basically saying that any unmanaged IT subcategory typically has 30% in waste. And we see this year over year. People do surveys, and sometimes it's 28%, sometimes it's 31%, but it really stays around 30% very commonly for things like cloud or enterprise mobility, where there's all these cell phones that are sitting in closets, or all these software licenses that are being unused at the SaaS level. So this is a very common problem. As for the marketplace, this is a very fragmented market. I would say that there are three big players right now. There's the VMware cloud based cloud health solution. There is the Apptio IBM solution, and then there is now the Flexera based cloud checker solution, formerly owned by NetApp and then recently purchased by Flexera. And then there's a bunch of up and coming players like CloudBolt that are coming up as well. There's actually the big industry show for this is coming up in early June 2nd, June 3rd, called FinOps X, being run by the FinOps Foundation, which is part of the Linux Foundation, offshoot of the Linux Foundation, focused on cloud costs. So we're probably going to see a whole slew of press releases about the latest and greatest in cloud cost management in the next week or two.
Okay, very interesting. So more comments on this?
Actually, a question. So and there's no doubt about there is a certain amount of waste which gets addressed by vendors like CloudBolt in this particular example. What's the, let's say, the remaining benefit for their clients? Because they don't do it for free as well.
Right.
So what's the value distribution of solving or reducing this problem?
That's the tricky part. So you get that 20 to 30% cost waste. Of course, you identify that. But after 2 years, that's all cleaned up. And often the challenging part is after that. If you're doing a good job, your cost is at a steady state, which is a difficult case to make for your CFO, to say, I'm doing a great job because nothing's changing. And the CFO is always looking for constant 30, 50, 70% cuts wherever you're looking. So after that, it becomes more of a governance play, making sure that everything is ordered in a more standard way, that you're following your contracts, that you're getting all of your discounts and able to prove that from a contractual perspective. This is also helpful from an inventory perspective, and simply making sure that things like your storage buckets don't get abandoned and then hacked into as well. So after the first couple of years, this becomes more of an IT asset management issue than a finance or an expense issue.
Cool.
The interesting part of this is I think that there's what I like to refer to as the messy middle, right? So as Hyun talked about, you got the CFO on one side who's, can you name your budget in 3 notes, playing name that. And then on the other side, you have tools like this that are providing more granular level visibility into what you're actually spending and levels of performance. But the messy middle is where how do you actually compose these things to be able to say, okay, these are the component parts that I need in order to be able to deliver this capability to the organization, and how much should I spend for it? And this is, I think, where the math gets really complicated, because for the most part, we're trying to make sense of the forest from looking at all the individual trees, as opposed to being able to have a better construct to be able to actually build the view and now decide what elements in the forest are actually useful in making that available. So we've got a lot of work to do.
We definitely have. All right. So if you guys don't have anything else on this one, I'll move to the next one. Okay. So we have Kinaxis, and it's very interesting that they are in the news now because the last news that I saw, this is a Canadian company and they were kind of struggling, but now they are signing a lot of partnerships. So I don't know what changed, but this is very interesting. So this particular partnership is very aligned with what SAP had done with Databricks. But in this case, Kinaxis is a different platform because they are more into the SNOP and supply chain suite play. But Databricks is everywhere, I guess. Good for them that they are making these partnerships. So, and I mean, there is one more story, I guess. Kinaxis and Infor, I guess they are doing something as well. So it's always very interesting in the supply chain space because everybody is trying to work with everybody else, even your rivals and competitors. So which always gets interesting. So here again, I think this is going to be more of the technology play. Because in my mind, Databricks is still very infrastructure, data warehouse sort of play, compared to what Kinaxis offers, which is going to be a real SNOP planning, forecasting platform from the supply chain perspective. So here they are saying the only AI native platform. Everybody is AI native all of a sudden overnight without spending any money, purpose built for end-to-end supply chain orchestration. I don't know if I'm seeing anything else other than the partnership, which is great. I don't know how that is AI native, but I would say it's definitely a partnership. That's all. Do you guys have more thoughts here?
Yeah. In the data side, there is this intense mano-a-mano right now between Databricks and Snowflake to see who can be basically the next Oracle database, except for AI and data lake and all of the things that we talk about that are magical about AI. So everybody is trying to partner and show that they are the true enterprise solution. Right now, Databricks is making a lot of announcements around marketing data, and they recently announced their SAP Data Cloud along with SAP. Now they're talking about working with Kinaxis. They are definitely trying to show that they have real enterprise cred and that they aren't just an AI technology solution, so that as you think about what you're going to do next from a data warehousing perspective or a model building perspective, you're going to say, well, I'm going to work with Databricks because they obviously have all these interesting enterprise connections, not just with markets, but with market leaders like Kinaxis, which might not be the sexiest company in the supply chain space, but obviously is a well-established one.
Yeah. More comments, guys? No? Yeah. So, I mean, in this particular case, I guess the connection and the marketplace that you mentioned, Hian, I guess that's probably going to be the value from the Databricks perspective. But again, I mean, in my mind, when I look at the data lake, data warehouse play versus SNOP, it's just going to be one connection. SNOP is a very different use case in general. It's not supposed to be replaceable. Sometimes people feel that if you pay, let's say, $100,000 per year for an SNOP platform, they are also going to get the data warehouse as well as some sort of dashboard, which is not true because these platforms are very different. They are different sort of ERP is how I like to define. They sort of provide the future view as opposed to the current view, transactional view that your ERP CRM systems are going to provide. So that would be my comments on this. More follow-ups? Any other comments? No?
Well, I do think that supply chain data is interesting because it is multifaceted. It's not simply a matter of the typical structured data that we think of as from perhaps a sales perspective or a CRM perspective. It can be streaming data. It needs to be more real time simply because of the nature of supply chain and dealing with stockouts, dealing with real time activity, logistics. And I think the data lake house that they've been talking about, where you just shove a ton of data in and can analyze it on demand, is an important capability from a technical perspective. And so I can see where plugging into something like a Databricks might be useful. I think there's a number of technical ways to be able to solve this problem, but I think this is just market leaders trying to team up and show that they are stronger together.
Yeah.
You said something quite interesting before, becoming the next Oracle. What do you think is Oracle's take on that?
I'm pretty sure Oracle wants to remain the next Oracle.
Yeah, I'm quite sure about that as well. But how are they playing there?
Yeah, but Oracle's doing this in a different way because they're doing it by pushing their Oracle Cloud at this point, and of course they've got NetSuite and their Fusion apps, and then their original Oracle database, which they seem pretty wedded to maintaining and making more autonomous from a tuning and management perspective, but they are not as wedded to the idea of the data lake where you shove everything into one place. They really want you to clean up your data and put it in an Oracle data, the same Oracle database you've been using this for 40, 50 years.
Yeah, and historically speaking, Hyun, I mean, Oracle became so big because they moved a little bit from their database roots and market. They tried to provide a lot more capabilities, and they became a true enterprise software vendor, I would say. Do you see the same future for Databricks as well as Snowflake as well? Are they going to get into the app space, or are they going to be as big as Microsoft? I mean, Salesforce is probably as big right now. I would think, and they are kind of getting into the infrastructure play as well, especially with AI and the way their platform-centric approach is rolling out. So Salesforce is, I don't know if they are comparable to Microsoft right now. I would think they are. No? Thomas does not believe so, I guess.
Microsoft is just so huge. They have so many other pieces outside of their applications.
Yeah.
The dynamics for Microsoft is a rounding error. Let's put it at a scaling perspective.
Yeah, but overall, from the
but Sam, it's a good point. Like, you would think that one of these huge data platforms would start going in that direction. It hasn't really happened yet. There are no real Databricks apps. I'm sure Thomas does not think about Databricks at all from a CRM perspective, and he shouldn't, because there's nothing there. If anything, other than ServiceNow jumping into the market, there are no other giants that are trying to go into enterprise apps to a significant degree right now. You would think it's going to change, but it hasn't yet.
Certainly an interesting thought, because I mean, one way or another, so each of those silos, the data silo, the infrastructure silo, as well as the application silo, they're getting commoditized. So basically they are commoditizing each other. So it may be an interesting thought for a data vendor or a database vendor, let's call it database for sake of lack of a better word, that they are going into another segment that is adjacent. So that we have seen it with the no-code and the BPM vendors, for example.
But it's hard to do. Amazon has really struggled to get into the app space, and they obviously have all the data in the world.
Well, same as Google, right? They could do as well.
Yeah, I mean, the reason why they have struggled is because, in my mind, B2B and B2C play are two completely different plays. And when I say B2C, I mean commoditized, offerings as well, even if Microsoft has a lot of those, but they don't necessarily have the real B2B play. The same thing goes for the majority of the consumer-centric companies.
I think Microsoft is pushing the messy middle that I was talking about, which is, having somebody that has like data lake or these massive piles of data capabilities. How do you actually go through and figure out how you want to take and reconfigure or reinterpret the data in a way that's actually usable, to use that kind of that ERP lens to it? There's not a lot of uniformity. I think that's why people have been hoping that AI will be the solution to this. But I still think we're pretty far away from being able to address the real need here, which is how do you make sense of something which is inherently nonsensical?
Yeah.
Magic wand.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you don't have anything else on this one, I'll move to the next one. So this is very interesting, Rootstock. And we have done some stories for Rootstock. And if you guys don't remember, they are the ERP platform on Salesforce platform, and they are primarily into the manufacturing centric space. So right now, I guess the Spring 25 release is really big for them. They have done a lot of UX uplift. Now you guys might feel that it's not as exciting as what other companies are working on. But overall, if you look at the Salesforce platform and the Salesforce applications, some people feel that, Salesforce is easy, but UX is not their thing, I guess, anymore. It does not feel as modern. And they have done a lot of Lightning enhancements, but it's just not as consistent. And these guys are trying to enable that. So this update is for Lightning. They have a lot going on from the AI perspective, which I don't know a lot of ERP vendors that are really rolling out these features. In their case, they have done it, which I completely believe because they have the horsepower of, I would say, Salesforce that they are able to leverage on. So that's why they are able to do that, even though they might not be as big. So, I mean, in my mind, I think this is very exciting. What do you guys think?
Anything that targets user experience and making things easier for the people that are actually using products to do their jobs, I think that's actually a really great thing. And specifically because the less friction that there is for somebody to be able to serve somebody else that is, like going to fulfill the organizational mission, I think that's a really great position to be in, because now it's focused on a role, it's focused on certain outcomes, and how you use the platform that you invested a whole ton of money in to actually deliver better results. So I like being able to see things that directly impacts the experience from a design and management perspective.
Yes, pretty much the same. Although I ask myself whether they are betting on a horse that is going out to pasture. Because what Salesforce does is they are betting big time on Slack. So this follows another trend, which is, I call it, the conversation becomes the user interface. So people they are not wedded to the application frame. They work wherever they work at any given point in time. And this very well may be far outside Lightning. Means, let's say, in LinkedIn or in any conversation application, in Slack, in Teams, in Zoom, wherever it is. And there, this doesn't help much. So Rootstock might bet on a horse that is, well, no more in its prime. Formulated carefully here. And I don't mean Salesforce with it. I don't mean Salesforce with that, just Lightning.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also wonder how much Rootstock will be able to take advantage of the Salesforce platform. Obviously, Salesforce has been talking a lot about Agent Force and AI and pushing everything to the user. Manufacturing operations is still often a very specialized capability when you dig down into the details, and you definitely want to dig down into the details when you're thinking about manufacturing yields and taking care of 100 years of technology that go across the gamut in all sorts of ways, both connected and non-connected. and the expertise needed to keep that going. And often the capabilities that we're trying to sell in the here and now and everything developed over the past year just aren't relevant to a lot of what's happening in manufacturing operations overall. They're still looking for connections to operational technology while we are talking about talking to your data. It's just we're just talking about different worlds here. But that aside, anything that makes manufacturing operations easier, I would think is a good thing. I just wonder how much manufacturers really want to be modernized to the extent that the platform may allow them to.
Yeah, so some follow-ups there, if you guys don't have any comments there. So number one, Thomas, Slack is just one leg, I guess. Salesforce, in my mind, is really big overall from their penetration perspective, from their presence and platform perspective. And Hyun, to your comment, what they have done from the Rootstock perspective on Salesforce platform is just mind-blowing. In my mind, when I look at the CRM data model, it's very lean, very truncated, and that's done for purpose. And you guys would agree probably with me that, if you are going to be really going to have really bloated data model, then you sort of create ERP. The intent of CRM is very different because, you are trying to promote the ease of use. But surprisingly enough, what Rootstock has done on top of Salesforce platform, and that's why Salesforce is so powerful, because they can build these very complex applications on the Salesforce platform. And Rootstock, if you look closely, they have done wonders. And that's where I see the power, to be completely honest, from the Agentforce perspective as well, that they will be able to leverage that. So that would be my take. I don't know if you guys are going to have any other follow-ups there. I know Thomas does not like that, I guess.
Well, CRM processes can become very complicated, so I don't have a problem with complex data models there, as long as you keep the user interface on top of it simplified. So there are two very different beasts. So
yeah, a lot of CRMs, they cannot handle, even though they all claim that they can do pretty much anything. You can do custom objects, but once you start developing, then it just doesn't work. A lot of them. Like
same
I would say 70%.
Same with ERPs.
Yeah, but this also reminds me, there's Rootstock, and then there's also Circana, formerly Financial Force. Then kind of building this ERP on top of a CRM platform, the platform meaning the data cloud and the integrations and all those capabilities. It seems, although this seems like a really powerful combination, because I think the Salesforce platform is obviously enterprise ready. At the same time, I don't think of Rootstock and Circana as like the leaders in ERP at this point. So there's, I don't feel like these companies have fully scaled out to take advantage of fully take advantage of what the Salesforce platform can do yet, because I think of the Salesforce platform as something that obviously scales to a global scale. With however many customers Salesforce has. So I think it'll be interesting to see as these companies continue to grow, whether that Salesforce platform is a strategic advantage there, whereas their competitors may start having to think about changes to their infrastructure and backend platform.
Yeah. So Robert, just to your comment, I guess, overall in terms of the differences between CRM and ERP, yes, ERP is any, I would say, packaged applications are going to have their own sort of limitations. There's nothing called infinite scalability. If people believe that, then they don't know how to do software, I guess.
Well, just throw a server more at it, or a Kubernetes.
Yeah. So here, you have the scalability from the infrastructure perspective, but you also have scalability from the development model perspective, because they have their own constraints as well. But the real difference between the ERP applications is that you can do easy CRUD operations. Not easy, I should not use easy word, but at least the CRUD operations. But CRM platforms, they struggle with basic CRUD operations as well at times, because the data model is just not there. In some cases, you can do that. And again, that's why Salesforce is powerful in my mind, because you can do very complex CRUD operations here. And that's why they are able to build all of that. If you guys don't have any follow-ups there, I'll move to the next one. Okay, so here, this is coming from the PM side of story, and we have done some stories related to the program management, portfolio management. So here, this is about Tempo. And again, I have never heard of them. I don't know if you guys have heard of them. Tempo, a leader in project, program and portfolio management solutions, today announced its strategic portfolio management platform. And again, in this market, if you look at the movement that is happening in the market, there are the newer project management platforms, Monday.com, Smartsheet. They are taking substantial market share. And my take on Tempo would be that this would be more of the traditional, project management system, Asanas of the world, I don't know, the Atlassian. So it must be in their market. But this seems to be slightly advanced capability that they have announced, and they are talking about the new release. Allegro introduces powerful workflow capabilities. So are they catching up with these newer vendors? That's a possibility, because 90% of the traditional project management platforms are trying to catch up with these newer breed of project management platform. But they are talking about some of the integrations as well, Atlassian, ServiceNow. Those are very common integrations. So it seems like they are in the enterprise space, because these are 90% of them are very enterprise-centric platforms. So that's my take. What do you guys think?
To me, this reminds me of Soho's Projects Plus, because the beef here is in the last sentence or last half sentence. Compatibility and clarity of responsibilities across all types of projects. So even in bigger organizations, there are different sizes of projects that are managed differently. Some are waterfall, some are Scrum, some are safe, some are Kanban, whatever. Yeah, pick your choice. And there aren't many tools around that can support that all. So, and this, I think, is quite a good idea to have an overlay that can do that, while not immediately threatening the Atlassians and DevOps of this planet that offer part capabilities and that are well in use. So play with them instead of against them, which is quite an interesting move, quite a good move, actually.
More comments?
From my perspective, the project portfolio and program management it's a really gnarly space. And the main reason is that the level of capabilities that are being provided by the various tools are not one size fits all. Some will actually work well for, a small team that's working on doing some continuous improvement. Others are like, how do we rationalize the spend across the portfolio of initiatives that we own and want to either be able to optimize or take some stuff out of service? The gap between the low end and the high end is pretty substantial. And the closer that you get to managing portfolios, I think it requires a level of sophistication that a lot of people consider aspirational, but don't necessarily line up with in practice. So portfolio management activities end up being, it's quite uncommon to see it, I think, done well. And I'm really questioning whether or not a blended offering here, while you may be able to take some data in from the different tool sets that you have available being used at the lower level, how that actually rolls up and showing how you can better manage a portfolio or a set of programs. I'm just kind of skeptical about that.
Yeah, I completely agree. Ken, more comments, guys? No? Yeah, so Ken, just to reinforce on your comment, I guess, anytime you are going to make it a bundle, you make sales process, I don't know how to put this, you create a lot more friction, I guess, in the sales process because it's not as easy to sell in general. So here they are trying to create the bundle, but for the most part, I don't know if you really need bundle. Bundle is good from the analytics perspective and getting the connectivity across the organization. But again, it's not as easy from the adoption as well as from the sales process perspective. If you guys don't have more comments on this one, I'll go to the next one. So this is Tricentis, and I don't know if you guys are familiar with them. They are very interesting platform as well. They are more in the testing space. And testing space is seeing a lot of innovations too from the AI perspective. Now there are AI first testing platform, which is just mind blowing because they look very slick, to be completely honest. I really want to play with them. So I think we are going to see a lot more changes in this space. Tricentis obviously is a very legacy platform, but I don't know how much AI capabilities they are going to get, how easy it is going to be for them to do something that the newer breed of AI native platforms are able to do. So this is the spring release of new cloud capabilities. And again, everybody is AI powered, AI native, so I'm not surprised there at all. Everybody wants to rank on those keywords. So here, as such, there are no details as such, with the only exception being they have done the spring release, and it seems to be AI powered. What do you guys think?
Well, if it's cloud and AI based, it must be fantastic. But there's I think there is a real business problem here that we're going to be creating all of these models and all of these agents, like the Agent Force and ServiceNow and everybody else is talking about how they want to build 1 billion agents or whatever it is. And we're going to need some sort of mechanism for being able to test all of these agents as we are making them enterprise ready and deciding, are these agents and services and apps and models and whatnot that we want to spread out across the department or across our organization? There's going to have to be some way to be able to figure out how to test this and how to throw data into those models that are relevant to your business or relevant to customer questions or external questions that might come in. So I can definitely see the need for some sort of cloud-based capability and some sort of brand name to be able to come in and help with those testing capabilities, because we're not just testing a couple hundred apps anymore. We're going to be testing millions of little bits, let's just call them the agents and models and APIs and et cetera, et cetera. So, some legacy player is going to come in and probably make $1 billion in solving that problem.
Yeah. More comments, guys?
Well, test has traditionally been difficult, time-consuming, and resource-intensive. So I think that being able to focus on using AI and now being able to think about what's the actual role of synthetic data in our test process, how do we actually do more of an automated, if you will, approach to being able to do the testing, so we can do more iterations of it without actually requiring more personnel hours to go into it to figure out what tests should we be doing. Like almost bringing elements of Chaos Monkey into it without actually having to think about, do I need to actually wire up something that will actually do that? But bring the suite of capabilities together that will help them actually go through and start to figure out, for this particular type of app or configuration of services that we're looking at, what's the right thing we should be looking at that's going to help us get a more well-rounded view. And this is more along the lines of what I would see like the chip makers would do when they try to exercise chipsets. You can't test for everything, but you should have a way of being able to get most of the capabilities. So yes. I'm pretty excited about seeing any type of work being applied to this particular area.
Yeah, especially in the CI/CD world, where we are basically continuously deploying new stuff, which needs to get tested without, paying an arm and a leg for it.
Yeah.
So or encountering a bunch of delays.
Yeah, or that.
Or putting a patch that is going to disrupt the whole world.
I mean, if you're looking at the enterprise software world, there is a good deal of acceptance by vendors that software gets shipped buggy. And whatever helps in reducing the bagginess, both, is a good thing in probably all of our books.
All right, guys. So if we don't have any other comments on this one, I think we are close to our time now. So we can take some sort of closing thoughts. And if you guys have any other plug that you want to provide, you can do that. So we'll do the reverse this time. Ken, do you want to go first?
Sure. I think given the things that we're seeing from an announcements perspective is I would actually like to encourage companies to be a little bit more thoughtful about not necessarily trying to go for a desired future state right off the bat, but what's the next step you can take from the tools that are available that are going to be able to give you demonstrable value and be able to last anywhere from 2 to 5 years so that you can stabilize, you can deal with some of your tech debt issues and have some level of enhanced capability without actually having to break the bank.
Yeah. Jan, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that with the IT branding that is happening right now, I'm actually the AI branding happening right now. I'm pretty excited about this as an IT nerd because it means everybody's saying the same thing. So you can't simply buy your next technology based on the high level branding at the executive level. You actually have to do some due diligence and figure out what's happening on a technical level and figure out whether this software solution is supporting your vertical, your department, your specific use cases, your key pain points at both business and technical level. And that's nice for me to see because it means we're kind of getting out of the type of buying enterprise applications and have to actually think about this again. You can't just throw $8 billion at something because your CEO said so.
Yeah, Thomas?
For me, it's often the usual grief. So they are talking a lot about the what great stuff they are throwing out into the wild for people to be used, for businesses to be used. And what is often left sort of unsaid or only implicitly said is why? Why do I throw it into the wild, and why is this beneficial to you? And by the way, why me and not Ken? So or Ken's product. So this is something that all of us probably should learn a little more in communicating, especially if you're in marketing.
I think you all should buy from Ken and Thomas and Sam.
I'll be more than happy to buy. All right, guys. So my thoughts here are going to be, I'm extremely pleased today. At least, I mean, we didn't see as many AI stories, and there were some stories that were slightly meaningful. And that's what I care for from the user experience perspective, from the real world value perspective. So we could see some stories that had that. On that note, thanks for tuning in, everybody. This was part of our Analyst Gone Wild, and we meet every Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern. So make sure you guys are going to be here next week. We're going to come back with another show. On that note, thanks for tuning in, everybody.
See you.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the WBS Podcast. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. For more information on growth strategies for SMBs using ERP and digital transformation, check out our community at WBS.rocks. We'll see you next time.